In the turbulent landscape of ancient Judea, a movement was born from the fervent resistance against Roman occupation, shaping not only the destiny of a nation, but also inspiring a legacy of courage and determination. The Zealots, known for their relentless dedication to Jewish freedom and national sovereignty, emerged as a beacon of resistance in dark times. As Judea found itself increasingly subdued by Roman influence, the Zealots rose as fearless defenders of Jewish faith and identity. Originating from a mix of discontented peasants, artisans, and priests, their movement quickly transformed into an active force of resistance, challenging not only political dominance, but also the spiritual integrity of the Jewish people. If you are interested in exploring more about the fascinating history of the Zealots and discovering how their struggle resonates to this day, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. Now, let's dive deep into the formation and ideology of the Zealots. The Zealots did not emerge overnight. Their formation was a gradual process driven by desperate circumstances. As Roman occupation intensified in Judea, discontent grew among the Jewish people. The Zealots found their momentum in the popular outrage against oppressive taxes, imposed Roman cultural practices, and the desecration of sacred sites. Initially, many of the Zealots were peasants, craftsmen, and even priests disillusioned with the status quo. Their movement gained strength as charismatic leaders emerged, inspiring the downtrodden to actively resist the occupation. The Zealots' ideology quickly spread among the dispossessed who longed for a radical change in Judea's political and religious situation. They did not see submission as an option. Instead, the Zealots called for direct and courageous action against the Roman yoke, seeking to restore Jewish sovereignty and the purity of their faith. Their roots were deeply entrenched in Jewish history and tradition, driving them to fight relentlessly for their ideals. Thus, the Zealots transformed into a determined and resilient movement, shaped by adverse circumstances and an unwavering belief in divine justice. They became living symbols of Jewish resistance against foreign domination, prepared to face all challenges on their path to freedom. The Zealots were not merely fighters, they were also bearers of a robust and determined ideology. Central to their cause was the conviction that Roman occupation was not only political but also spiritually corrosive to the Jewish people. They believed that submission to the Romans compromised the purity of Jewish faith and national sovereignty. The Zealots' ideology emphasized the need for a return to true worship of God, free from foreign influences. They saw their struggle as a holy war for Israel's independence and the restoration of their people's honor. For the Zealots, resistance was a religious and patriotic duty, a divine call to protect the promised land and its ancestral traditions. Moreover, the Zealots rejected political compromises they considered to compromise Jewish identity. They vigorously opposed any form of collaboration with the Romans or with Jewish leaders they saw as traitors to their cause. This inflexible and radical stance put them in conflict not only with Roman authorities, but also with more moderate Jewish factions seeking accommodation with the empire. Thus, the Zealots became a powerful and polarizing force in Judea, leaving a legacy of religious fervor and radical nationalism that would continue to resonate through the centuries. Their influence shaped not only the course of Jewish history, but also echoed in resistance movements worldwide, inspiring those who fight for freedom and self-determination against oppression. The Zealots soon found themselves at the center of many of the major events and conflicts of the time. Their determination to resist Roman occupation led them to participate in several significant revolts and armed confrontations. Among the most notorious were the Jewish revolts that culminated in the Great Jewish Revolt of 66 CE. In this revolt, the Zealots played a crucial role, leading attacks against Roman garrisons, inciting the people to rebel, and vigorously defending their mountain strongholds in Judea. Their fervor and military skills made them feared by the Romans and respected by their fellow Jews. However, the revolt was not without consequences. The battles were fierce and bloody, resulting in significant losses on both sides. Despite their brave resistance, the Zealots were eventually defeated by the Roman forces, especially after the siege and destruction of Jerusalem in 70 CE. Despite the military defeat, the spirit of the Zealots continued to inspire subsequent generations of Jews who resisted oppression and fought for their freedom. The legacy of the Zealots lies not only in their military actions, but also in the firmness of their convictions and the perseverance of their struggle against injustice and tyranny. The Zealots were not just warriors, they also had an organizational structure that reflected their determination and discipline. Although there was no single centralized leadership, the Zealots were organized into cells and local groups, each led by charismatic and skilled leaders. These leaders ranged from military commanders to religious leaders who articulated the ideology and motivated their followers. The decentralized structure of the Zealots allowed for flexibility and agility in their military operations and resistance activities. They could respond quickly to changes on the battlefield and adapt their strategies as needed. Additionally, this structure encouraged fervent devotion and deep commitment to the group's ideals among its members. This effective organization was crucial to the Zealots' ability to maintain prolonged resistance against the powerful Roman army. Even after significant defeats, Zealot cells continued to operate in the mountains and rural areas of Judea, keeping the flame of resistance alive for many years after the fall of Jerusalem. Thus, the organizational structure of the Zealots not only facilitated their struggle against the Romans, but also contributed to their enduring influence and legacy in Jewish and world history. During the siege of Jerusalem by Roman forces, the Zealots played a crucial role in defending the sacred city. Known for their mountain fortresses and tenacious resistance, the presence of the Zealots within the walls of Jerusalem was a symbol of resistance to the last breath. Led by charismatic figures and determined military commanders, the Zealots not only fought against the Roman invaders, but also fervently urged the people to maintain their faith and resistance. They defended the city's strategic points with ferocity, engaging Roman troops in desperate battles in the narrow streets and fortified walls. Despite their bravery, the siege was relentless and brutal. The city's resources were depleted, and conditions within the walls deteriorated rapidly. The desperate struggle of the Zealots, combined with the famine and disease that plagued the population, culminated in the inevitable fall of Jerusalem in 70 AD, when Roman troops finally breached the city's defenses and destroyed it. The siege of Jerusalem was a devastating turning point for the Zealots and the entire Jewish people. The fall of the city not only marked the end of Jewish independence, but also led to the dispersion of the Jewish population and the beginning of a period of exile and diaspora that would last for centuries. Thus, the siege of Jerusalem not only witnessed the last gasp of Zealot resistance, but also left an indelible mark on Jewish history and the collective memory of the Jewish people worldwide. After the fall of Jerusalem and the dispersal of the survivors, the Zealots faced an inevitable period of decline. With their military defeat and the destruction of their main base of support, many of the Zealot leaders and followers were captured, executed, or scattered by Roman forces. The remnants of the Zealots continued to operate on a small scale, mainly in the mountainous areas of Judea, maintaining a stubborn but increasingly isolated resistance. However, without a strong base and unified leadership, their ability to organize large-scale revolts diminished significantly. In addition to military challenges, internal divisions and ideological disputes further undermined the cohesion of the Zealots. Some factions sought to continue armed struggle against the Romans, while others opted for more moderate forms of resistance or collaboration with the established power. Roman repression also played a crucial role in the decline of the Zealots. The pacification and assimilation policies promoted by the Romans, along with severe punishments for dissidents, gradually weakened Jewish resistance and reduced the influence of the Zealots among the people. Thus, over time, the Zealots disappeared as a significant force in Judea. Their legacy of resistance and determination continued to inspire liberation movements in various parts of the world. But their central role in Jewish history was destined to be remembered primarily as a desperate response to oppression and injustice. The legacy of the Zealots transcends their military defeat and political downfall in ancient Judea. Despite their decline as an organized force, the Zealots left an indelible mark on Jewish and world history. First and foremost, the Zealots represented a radical form of resistance against foreign occupation and political oppression. Their unwavering commitment to freedom and national sovereignty inspired generations of Jews and other oppressed peoples to fight against tyranny and injustice. Furthermore, The example of the Zealots resonated throughout the centuries as a symbol of courage and sacrifice in the name of deeply held principles. Their dedication to the nationalist and religious cause shaped Jewish identity and strengthened the determination to preserve Jewish faith and culture. The impact of the Zealots can also be seen in the ongoing Jewish struggle for self-determination and national security. Even after the dispersion of the Jews through the diaspora, the memory of the Zealots continued to inspire movements of resistance and defense in the face of adversity. Thus, the legacy of the Zealots is not confined to their time in ancient Judea but echoes through the ages as a powerful reminder of the human struggle for freedom, justice, and dignity. Their story continues to be studied and celebrated as an integral part of the rich tapestry of Jewish experience and as a lasting testament to human resilience in the face of adversity.